My name is Zoe, and this is Coco. Coco is my assistant for all my yoga classes, and we used to teach yoga classes in Singapore where we lived, and right now we're traveling and exploring and deciding where we're gonna say we come from. But technically you can say we come from Vancouver. You're gonna be noticing that Coco will be joining us for a lot of the classes. And that's because in Singapore, I had a little yoga studio that was based out of my home, and Coco is always the yoga mascot. So what Coco has to offer is a sense of relaxation. She does not need to wear yoga costumes, and she does a perfect downward dog. She is perfectly yin. She's able to lift her leg to her head anytime and does not have any ego about it whatsoever. And basically, Coco is a bit of a furry guru. So just watch out for what she's going to do in the classes with us. So I was in the Arctic with my husband, who's a TV producer, and we both ended up working for the Inuit, doing communications for the Inuit. During that time, I was carrying really heavy cameras and kind of doing a lot of hiking over mountain ranges in order to get to our subjects, to interview them and photograph them. And it was all a lot for a city girl's body. So having multiple sore places in the body, I heard that yoga might be a cool way to deal with it. Also, in my boredom of working somewhere isolated, I stopped buying fashion magazines because even if I read the fashion magazines, there won't be any place where I could buy the clothes that I see in the magazines. I started picking up yoga magazines, and the articles that I really enjoyed were not the ones about all the funny shapes that the people were in. I always went to the ones with Sally Campton and the ones that are about how can you become happier, how can you deal with tough things in your life. So somehow I think that kind of planted a seed, and it just made me gravitate towards yoga. And one day I found a podcast called Yoga Amazing, and I started doing the 20-minute little classes, and to be honest, they killed me. I was like, oh, this is hard, like yoga. I don't think I want to do this ever again. So I don't know what happened, but yoga with its transformative and magical properties, after my initial resistance and finding yoga very hard, it became something that made me notice I was a lot nicer if I did yoga in the morning before going to work and facing the stresses of my job. And after a while, it started kind of coming into my head, oh, maybe I could just do yoga as a job because I'm starting to enjoy it so much. And being somebody who was living in the Arctic and doing videos really mostly online, I had not even ever met a yoga teacher before. But during a year when I was taking a sabbatical, I went back to Singapore and took a one-year yoga teacher training because I decided you either dive in or you don't do it. So it was quite a big year in terms of realizing that, oh, if your body is different and you do yoga, you might not look like everybody else. So challenging and cool and mind-blowing, that's how we came to yoga, from being in the Arctic and then going back to Singapore. I have heard this many times before when my teachers would tell me, oh, it's not about the asana, it's about your breath. It's not about achieving something, it's about kind of having equanimity and using the least effort possible when you're doing something. And even right now, I'm still really on that journey of learning to do less, relax more, and just use the practice as a place to explore discovering friendliness towards myself. When I know that my practice is actually working is when I realize that I'm going from posture to posture without thinking about it. I'm just listening for what feels right, listening for what feels good, and I'm just flowing. And sometimes, even in the yoga postures, as my breath becomes more stable and as my mind really becomes more clear, I also start seeing really funny things about myself. There's been times when on the mat, maybe I'm unable to do a certain pose. And at first I feel really frustrated. And at first really, I feel like, oh, does that mean I'm failing? But that moment when you break into laughter and you're like, haha, like that was hilarious. I just fell for the 800th time. And maybe tomorrow I'll try again, but maybe I'm too sore, So, like when you start having a sense of humor in your practice, and when you realize that your practice is your practice for life, and in fact is your friend for life, it makes your practice just this wonderful thing that you have, and it's not like an exam subject. When you first start doing yoga, I did go through that honeymoon phase of like, oh my God, my body is changing. Like, I'm starting to look like those people in the magazines, and you do get caught up. And of course, we go and buy the yoga clothes, and there is something called yoga materialism, which I admit I definitely was a huge part of. And later on, as your practice kind of marinates you a little longer, it's pretty interesting. It opens up to you noticing that the difficult things in life, they come hand in hand with the sweet things in life. It's kind of like in Yin Yoga and in Taoism, I'm really loving and embracing their symbol right now of the black and white with the swishy in the middle, and then with the white you have a little bit of dark, and with the dark you have a little bit of light. Because I have realized that there is no perfection, and there's no need to strive for perfection. Because what we need to strive for is our ability to embrace ourselves and the moment and the people and the situations as they are. And I'm hoping that with yoga, in the way as I'm learning to evolve what I'm trying to share through yoga, I'm hoping that I'll be able to allow more people to know that it's okay. It's really okay. And everything is okay. It's like funny as it is, you spilled your coffee, you're stuck in a traffic jam, you're onto your deadlines, and you just are ready to like commit some huge murderous crime. But the truth is, regardless of all this craziness that we built upon ourselves, all these external pressures that we create for ourselves, the reality is everything is functioning as it should. And if you just allow yourself, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, to take a little time to allow the beauty of nature and allow the beauty of our surroundings and to allow the magic of what that human beings do not control, to just allow that magic and that beauty to overwhelm you, then everything is okay. And you are okay, just as you are. And I'm okay, just as I am, which is such a relief.